The lunch crowd snaked across the dusty yard at Camp Hawthorne, combat boots scuffing against sun-scorched ground. The sweltering air made everyone irritable, and the insults flew faster than usual. Private First Class Emily Parker waited in formation like the rest, her sleeves pushed up just past her wrists. That's all it needed to be. The delicate butterfly design on her arm grabbed the attention of some infantry guys standing nearby. One spoke up with a sneer meant for everyone around him. "What's her plan? Wing her way through battle?" Mocking laughter erupted. A wave of ridicule spreading at her cost. Emily remained still. She refused to look back. Her focus stayed ahead, tray gripped firmly. Her silence became her shield. They assumed they had her figured out. They were wrong. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button for military and veteran stories so these real accounts of bravery keep coming your way, and drop a comment telling us your location today. Private First Class Emily Parker had turned 28 working logistics duty at Camp Hawthorne. Her daily reality wasn't gunfire or covert operations. It was forms, inventory lists, and mountains of supply documents. While others drilled for battle, she guaranteed they had equipment to make it through alive. Each dawn found her arriving ahead of schedule. Her boots shined to perfection. Her sleeping area stayed immaculate. Her record stayed flawless. She never spoke harshly, never whined, never took shortcuts. When supplies went missing, Emily tracked them down. When deadlines loomed, Emily had already wrapped things up hours earlier. But to most combat soldiers, none of this registered as important. In their view, she wasn't a warrior, wasn't authentic military, she was merely a desk clerk, someone they couldn't imagine in dangerous situations. Someone whose reserved manner let them ignore her completely. The difference was obvious. The guys who ridiculed her were boisterous, aggressive, certain that value came from rough hands and battle experience. Emily stood in direct opposition, calm-voiced, reliable, modest. She never boasted about previous achievements. She never fought back when insults came flying. She just withstood them. And then you had the ink. A lone butterfly, dark lines etched into the light skin of her lower arm. To everyone else, it seemed strangely out of place on a service member. Delicate, breakable, an ornament that clashed with fatigues and identification tags. At the mess hall, gossip always began when people spotted it. Did she get that during vacation? Someone would say under their breath. How's she planning to use it? Flutter at enemy combatants. The amusement that came after never appeared to affect her. Emily never clarified. Not even once. She maintained her sleeves positioned where the design stayed exposed. Whether this came from defiance, self-respect, or another reason entirely, nobody could tell. But she never stood up for it, never shared a backstory, never handed them the reaction they craved. To her military peers, it seemed ridiculous. To Emily Parker, it held far greater significance. The initial incident during formation made Emily convince herself it held no weight. They assembled in the training area for standard instructions when a senior NCO noticed her ink. He grinned, then addressed the whole assembly. "Check this out," he announced, seizing her wrist and raising it for the entire group. Private Parker apparently believes she's visiting some garden sanctuary. "What's this meant to represent, Parker? Your personal totem?" Scattered chuckling moved through the formation. Emily refused to jerk her hand away. She simply allowed the quiet to settle, vision fixed straight ahead, teeth clenched. The NCO finally released her arm and continued, but the humiliation stayed. To everyone witnessing this, she became an easy target. It continued at the vehicle depot. One scorching afternoon, two soldiers relaxed against military transport, smoking, observing her pass by carrying paperwork. "I'll bet money," one said loudly enough for her ears. "She probably can't even load cargo without damaging a fingernail." His buddy laughed. "You're covered." "She likely doesn't know the first thing about securing equipment." Emily continued forward. She didn't react, didn't snap back, but in the truck's mirror reflection, her expression flashed with intensity before cooling again. She vanished into the storage building, and their amusement trailed behind. Things deteriorated at the dining facility. She steadied her meal tray, cautious as usual, when another private bumped past carelessly. The tray tumbled, silverware crashed onto the ground. Dinner spread across the floor. The hall exploded. Some jeered. Someone applauded mockingly. "Well done, Parker. The opposition will definitely give up now." Emily dropped to her knees, gathering the mess piece by piece. No profanity, no rage, just controlled movements, measured breathing, and quiet. A medical specialist crouched to assist, but she declined with a head shake. She wanted no sympathy. She completed the cleanup, abandoned her meal, and chose a distant table by herself. This pattern became familiar. isolated during meals, isolated at her workstation long past when others retreated to rest. The illumination in her workspace stayed bright into late hours, her writing instruments moving across documents. When soldiers walked past, they observed her bent-over correspondence arranged in tidy piles, yet never sent. Nobody knew her intended recipients. Nobody inquired. The quietness could have consumed her entirely without the arriving team. One afternoon, military vehicles approached Camp Hawthorne, dirt kicking up behind the entrance of a Navy SEAL group, passing through for combined exercises. Battle-tested warriors exited the transports, firearms carried, attention alert. They observed everything, and when they observed Emily Parker being taunted near the training grounds, when they witnessed how mockery shadowed her constantly, they didn't join in. They simply observed, evaluated. Something about her presence, something about that marking on her lower arm, captured their focus. They remained silent. Not immediately, but from that point forward, Emily wasn't merely overlooked. She was under watch. The hours melted together at Camp Hawthorne. For most people it meant routine. For Emily Parker it meant an endurance trial, not of warfare, but of remaining silent. Yet occasionally, breaks in her careful image would surface. Small details, understated, but undeniable if someone watched carefully. The initial hint emerged one evening when a soldier passed the female quarters. Emily's storage unit stood open, a lone photograph attached inside. Initially it appeared unremarkable. A team of service members positioned close together in arid terrain, but the individuals were unclear, whether from sand or intentional obscuring. Just one element was distinct, an emblem on uniform fabric, partially hidden but recognizable to anyone familiar with elite operations. The soldier paused, examining close, but before deeper inspection happened, Emily shut the locker with soft finality. The next hint existed in her ink design itself. Beneath the intense overhead lighting of the motor bay, the butterfly markings showed more than decorative wings. Delicate strokes ran through the artwork, nearly invisible, threading numbers into the composition. Location markers, identification codes, something exact, concealed where everyone could see. The soldiers who ridiculed her never detected it, but a visiting operator resting against transport caught it one evening. His attention held, his demeanor shifted. He spoke nothing, but when Emily registered his focus on her arm, she pulled her sleeve lower without sound. The third surfaced in the warehouse. A delivery arrived behind schedule, containers of firearms straight from manufacturing, weapons specialists assembled nearby, opening lids, recording information. Emily, holding her board, moved closer. She listed off the type, mass, and details of each weapon before the specialists even opened the packaging. Parker, one questioned, staring. How do you possibly know this? She just lifted her shoulder. It's documented here, she answered, though everyone understood the papers hadn't been reviewed yet. These weren't random occurrences. They were pieces of an existence Emily never discussed, concealed underneath everything visible. The men who ridiculed her saw only quietness and a delicate design. Those who examined more carefully saw traces of something different, something far more lethal. The checkup arrived unexpectedly. Late one afternoon, news traveled that an officer was conducting unannounced inspections through the motor bay. Soldiers rushed to create structure from disorder, securing straps, cleaning residue, arranging equipment in exact formation. Emily Parker stood calmly at her station, board ready. The officer's attention scanned the space. His focus settled on her. You there, he stated, gesturing. Private Parker, come here. The space went still. Emily complied, footsteps echoing against the hard floor. The officer lifted a standard rifle from a standing rack and extended it toward her. You work logistics, correct? Documents. Inventory. Let's discover what you actually understand. A murmur passed through the soldiers. This wasn't reasonable testing. Everyone knew Parker wasn't combat trained, but Emily showed no hesitation. She took the weapon with steady grip. Take it apart, the officer commanded. Emily examined the weapon once, then placed it on the surface. Without speaking, she reached into her uniform and retrieved a length of fabric. She wrapped it across her vision, covering her eyes. Sharp intakes of breath filled the motor bay. Her hands worked with calm accuracy. Charging mechanism, striker, claw. Component by component, she arranged the weapon in exact sequence. No excess motion, no uncertainty. The sound of steel touching the surface became the sole noise in the space. In under 2 minutes, the rifle rested completely dismantled before her. The weapons specialist nearby crossed his arms. I've witnessed people take 5 times longer, he commented quietly. Emily removed the covering, blinked once, and started putting the weapon back together. The concluding snap of the magazine rang out like a gavel in the silence. When she returned the rifle across the surface, the officer's face revealed nothing. From the rear of the space, someone broke the quiet. How do you know how to do that? Emily showed no satisfaction. She offered no explanation. She simply lifted her board again, as though the display had never occurred. It's written in the instructions, she responded gently. But everyone in that motor bay knew differently. Her hidden truth was breaking through, and nobody could understand it. The military vehicles entered Camp Hawthorne just past sunrise, rubber grinding against pavement, heat already climbing from the earth. A Navy SEAL team emerged, controlled, quiet, bearing the burden of missions most would never learn about. Leading them walked their commander, a man shaped by years of dangerous service. Emily Parker positioned herself nearby, board in hand, sleeves pushed high like always. She went unnoticed, just another person in desert uniform. She recorded identification codes, verified lists, and maintained low profile. The commander's vision swept the grounds, keen and probing, and then he stopped moving, his attention fixed on Emily's arm, the butterfly. He ceased advancing. The operators following him stopped as well, footsteps going silent on the hot concrete. The commander approached slowly, every action measured, as if he questioned what he witnessed. Emily glanced up, surprised, but remained motionless. Her grip tightened on her board. Then without warning, the SEAL commander squared his posture and raised his hand in a sharp salute. The atmosphere transformed immediately. Soldiers close by froze where they stood. Their trays, their equipment, their conversations stopped instantly. Silence rolled across the grounds like a surge. A whisper moved through the formation. Why would he salute a logistics worker? Nobody dared mock now. The commander's words carried quietly, but strongly. You're still one of us, Parker. She offered the slightest acknowledgement. And just like that, reality broke open. Emily Parker was far from an average supply clerk. Years before, she had worked as an intelligence specialist on a mission so secret that most documentation didn't survive. Her operational name was never voiced openly. Her ink was never simple decoration. That butterfly design was an identifier known only to a select few living men, those who survived an assignment, where Parker's information had rescued dozens of SEALs from guaranteed death. The marking had been carried silently by those who returned, and the commander facing her had been among them. He maintained the salute, and for the first time since arriving at Camp Hawthorne, every mocking comment went silent. The salute remained suspended, uninterrupted, a moment pulled tight with stillness. Then the SEAL commander dropped his hand and faced the assembled soldiers. His tone remained steady, but heavy with remembrance. You believe she's merely paperwork? He questioned. You believe that ink is something to laugh at? Nobody responded. Nobody would risk it. The commander's gaze moved across the formation. Years back, in a location most of you will never discover, we found ourselves surrounded, vastly outnumbered, cornered, moments from total loss. The single reason I'm here breathing, the single reason any of us returned home, was this woman. He indicated Emily. She stood paralyzed, caught between humility and fear, her board clutched tight to her body. She wasn't in the field carrying a weapon. She wasn't extracting casualty. But the intelligence she provided us, the path she discovered, the encryption she broke, the decision she made in darkness, it changed everything. My team survived because of her actions. A deeper hush settled over the ground. The soldiers who had mocked her at the food line fidgeted awkwardly, guilt in their faces. The commander moved back toward Emily. He lifted his hand again, precise, firm, unmistakable. This time the salute wasn't solitary. One after another, the SEAL operators behind him joined. Then the army leadership. Then the junior soldiers who had previously laughed at her design. Boots clicked together, hands rose to foreheads. The air charged with honor. Emily's breathing caught. She didn't grin. She didn't falter. She returned the salute with quiet strength that moved them even more deeply. For a single moment, hardened warriors honored the woman they had overlooked. The butterfly design that had been an object of ridicule was now a symbol of sacrifice and survival. It was the type of moment that nobody on that installation would ever erase from memory. When the salute finished, the grounds stayed silent. Nobody spoke, nobody shifted, as though disturbing the moment would constitute disrespect. The SEAL commander lowered his hand, his tone gentle. You've earned far more than quiet, Parker. They deserve to know who stands with them. Emily shook her head softly, her words barely rose above breathing. I'm simply fulfilling my duties, sir, and that concluded it. No dramatic declaration, no request for acknowledgement, just the identical quiet professionalism she had consistently demonstrated. From that moment onward, nobody ridiculed her, nobody joked about the butterfly design on her arm. The men who had laughed now carried themselves with more dignity when she passed, their voices softer, their expressions respectful. Eventually, accounts circulated, rumors of her contributions, pieces of reality passed from one soldier to the next. She never validated them, never disputed them. She had no reason to. Emily Parker became a hushed legend at Camp Hawthorne, not because she pursued it, but because respect had finally reached her. The lesson: genuine strength isn't always loud. Sometimes the most silent warrior bears the deepest wounds and the greatest distinction. If this account touched you, don't forget to demonstrate your appreciation. If you valued this account, please subscribe for additional military and veteran stories. We deliver authentic accounts of bravery, dedication, and integrity. Stories that remind us of the quiet strength held by those who serve. Until we meet again, stay protected, stay resilient, and never forget the heroes walking among us.